Hello again, I am Blunty, talking once again about the Xbox One. Much sooner than I had planned on, actually. I was going to make another video after the E3 event and comment on the actual facts and games and stuff that were talked about at the E3 event. If you haven't seen the two previous videos to this one, both with the same bright green background, they're easy to spot. You don't really need to watch them and understand what's going on in this video, but they do kind of inform a lot of the stuff I was talking about. Mainly that I was completely right in that all you hardcore gamers had to do was wait and see. Just sit patiently, calmly, waiting for more information to come out from Microsoft and resist the apparently powerful urge to wig out like a baboon out of his gourd on meth. In those previous two videos, I was called many things. I'll ignore the sort of simple name-calling stuff because water off a duck's back. That's just what happens on the internet. People call each other names and stuff. But I was accused of being an apologist for Microsoft, which I don't understand, because if they had actually watched the video, you would have seen me criticizing Microsoft for exactly the same kinds of things that they were criticizing Microsoft about. The only difference is I decided to take a calm wait-and-see approach. Go, well, that sounds like it's going to be really shitty, but at the moment it's just conjecture and hearsay and rumor and extrapolation on things that someone might have said, which are also contradicted by things someone else have said. So I'll tell you what, I'm just going to not flip out and wait. Meanwhile, the self-identified hardcore gamer would latch onto half-facts, rumors and speculation and bounce around all over the internet, gleefully joining the chorus of aforementioned howling freebasing baboons. Meanwhile, those of us who sat and wait were presented with a list of actual facts today on Major Nelson's blog. If you're not familiar with Major Nelson, or Larry Herb as he's known to those born on Earth, he's basically Xbox's head honcho in the community management gig. He does, blog posts and podcasts and this and that, and generally tries to calm people down when they freak the frig out on rumors and speculation and hearsay. Just like this. So old Major Nelson put up a post today explaining a bunch of stuff that people have been freaking out by. But in any case, let's have a chat about what was talked about in that actual blog post. And I've got some notes here so I can get it right. Facts instead of conjecture and hearsay and jumping to conclusions and such. Same day, disc and digital. So basically they're doing the same thing that Nintendo are trying to clumsily do with the Wii U. Game comes out, you can either go in the store and buy it on a disc, or you can digitally download it. Diddly download it. And I think, given that Microsoft have a lot more experience in this whole online gaming thing than Nintendo do, they're probably going to do a much better job of it than Nintendo have been doing. Nintendo's isn't awful, but it's not exactly a wonderful experience. But anyway, back to Microsoft. Now onto the reasons that all games have a mandatory hard drive install, which a lot of people freaked out about, and rightly so, mainly because, well, that's a pain in the ass. Sometimes it's a little bit on the PC side of things. You have to fully install the game before you play it. Consoles, you're supposed to throw on the disc, or in the old days the cartridge, and boom, you're playing. But now there's a mandatory install. You can start playing the game apparently while it is installing to your hard drive, so that's not too bad. But the problem is it's got a 500 gig hard drive built into the Xbox One that you can't replace. And I don't know whether or not you can install games onto an external hard drive. We know you can attach an external hard drive, but we don't know if that's just for media or you can put games on it as well. We don't know that yet. But still, having a non-replaceable 500 gig hard drive in a device that has mandatory game installs for modern games, which are gigs and gigs and gigs worth of data, it's probably going to fill up fast. So that's a bit of a pain in the ass. But they're doing it for some very specific reasons, so they can do some other clever stuff. And here it is. You can access your entire game library from any Xbox One just by signing in. So you go to your friend's place, you sign in with your account, all of your games that you have legitimately purchased are sitting there in the cloud ready for you to download and play on your friend's Xbox or your auntie's Xbox or whatever you're doing with it. So that's kind of cool. Every game you install is available to every other account. So if account 1 installs a game, account 2 can play that game without having to reinstall it and all that sort of stuff, which is kind of handy. Which was never a problem when you were just playing off the disc, but obviously if it's installed on the hard drive, there has to be some sort of management there about who plays what and who has access to what. Hopefully, they didn't specify, but hopefully that also means that if you buy DLC content once, it should be available to everybody on the system, which I don't think is currently the fact, because DLC is tied to an account at the moment, so we don't know if that's going to be the case yet. I hope it is. It would make sense. It would be the non-douchey thing to do, wouldn't it? But then again, the game companies, they often like to be a bit douchey in the pursuit of an extra $1 or $2, so who knows. Now we get to the trade-in stuff. This is a thing that a lot of people are completely losing their minds about, screaming to the high heavens that they would boycott Microsoft and Xbox One is dead in the water because it won't let you play used games. Or other people are screaming it won't let you play used games without paying a fee. And other people are screaming it won't let you play used games without paying full price for the game. And there was sort of confusion and raving based on, again, rumour, hearsay, conjecture, guesswork. And you see, I told you motherfuckers to wait and see, because the facts, not conjecture, not guesswork, not rumour, the fact is that Microsoft are not charging a fee of any kind to play used games. Facts. Written in, well, not ink, but electrons, from Major Nelson, an authority at Xbox, in very clear language. See, the fact is, Microsoft have no fee for used games. No fee to the retailers, no fee to the publishers, no fee, most importantly of all, to us end users when it comes to their stance on playing used games. And you can give, notice, give, not lend, a game of yours to a friend. But there are a few catches on that. The person you give it to has to be on your friend list for at least 30 days. For some reason, Microsoft think you should only give games away to people on your games list instead of being able to give your property to whoever the fuck you like. That is sleazy. And you can only do it once. Each game, physical game disc, can only be given away once. So if you give your disc to someone else, they play it to death and decide to give it to their brother, sister, auntie, uncle, father, mother, they can't do that. It's theirs forever, apparently now, after being given once. That is douchey. That you guys have my permission to freak out about, because that is sleazy motherfucking. And the full story on used games is similarly douchey, possibly anti-consumer bullshit. See, the fact is, Microsoft have decided not to charge a fee on their half, but they've decided to let the publishers decide if you're even able to trade in games. And that, my dear friends, is what you should be worrying about, because publishers, well, they're publishers. They don't have a good track record when it comes to being particularly consumer friendly on this kind of issue. So never mind having to pay a fee to play a used game. Some publishers might, possibly, theoretically, disavow you any ability to trade in your games at all. So once you buy a game, it is effectively yours or it's worthless. How about no? How about fuck you, if that happens? If and when that happens. If that happens. And it gets a little bit worse on that side of the fence. See, Microsoft have decided to completely pass the buck on this douchebaggy behavior of allowing publishers to double dip on used game fees. See, Microsoft have decided to let the publishers decide if they want to charge an extra fee for playing a used game. That's a recipe for disaster, because, like I said, publishers really don't have the best track record when it comes to their attitudes towards the used game market. That is absolutely something you can rage about and lose your minds about and scream and type in all caps about, but only when and if any publisher is suicidal enough to try that bullshit on the gaming public. Because we all remember what happened to Capcom when they tried to do a similar thing. They tried to slice the Achilles heel of the used game market on the Resident Evil game for the 3DS. They put in place a system where the game only had one save slot and you could not delete or restart that save game slot. So it was essentially worthless on the second-hand market. And guess what consumers did? Well, they didn't buy it, and the game sold horribly, and they got a ton of bad press about it, and everyone was screaming and ranting and pointing fingers at them, and guess what? They never tried that shit again. So again, like I started out, I'm not an apologist for these companies doing these sleazy things. I'm just encouraging you to wait and see the whole story and freak out when it is appropriate to freak out, and not before you actually get all the facts. As far as rentals goes, well, it seems Microsoft haven't even bothered to figure that out yet. They're still working with publishers trying to find an appropriate solution. So my guess will be that will be unacceptable to most of us. Although I haven't rented a game in God knows how long, and the game rental market in Australia is dead. I don't even know of any place that rents games anymore. Onto the internet connected stuff. Again, people were freaking the frig out about this. Oh, you have to have it constantly connected, or you have to have it connected once every 24 hours, and without really thinking about why these things are in place. So apparently the truth is, well, yes, it's designed to be constantly connected. I'm not clear on why people are really freaking out about that. mainly because they're freaking out about it online. So it's pretty clear they already have an internet connection. So why would they be complaining that their console requires an internet connection when they clearly already have one? I'm not sure why that's a problem for these people. Are they arguing on behalf of some theoretical person out there who's still living on dial-up? I haven't even met anyone who uses dial-up in a decade. Come on, it's ridiculous. So, you know, broadband connections are common enough these days to put it in place as a reasonable requirement for these kinds of gaming systems, especially when you're doing diskless installs and stuff like that. I mean, my existing consoles are already constantly connected. They're all sitting on my Wi-Fi network. They can connect whenever the frick they feel like it. It's just, it's not a big deal. It has never been an issue before. My Nintendo Wii did it. It had a low power mode and it sort of listened online for messages coming in. My Wii U does it, of course, as well, because that's got the carryover feature from that, and sort of it'll blink at me if something comes through when it's off. So the new consoles are just following Nintendo's lead on that. Plus, the Xbox is designed to pull down updates and patches and that kind of stuff while it is in the low power standby mode. So it solves the problem that many of us have been raging about ourselves for many years now, and that is, it's particularly bad on the PlayStation, but it also happens on the Xbox quite a lot. You put in a game you haven't played for, say, a month or two. You go, I'm going to go back to that game and I'm going to polish off the achievements, or I'm going to play evil this time in a game that lets you play good or evil, or something like that. And then you can't do it for like 10, 15, 20 minutes while it downloads a big friggin' update, and it won't even let you play the game until that update is installed. So you've got no option but to sit on your fat ass, say you're all revved up to play a game, but no, I have to wait for an update. Well, if it's constantly online and listening for updates, it can do that in the background. It can do it overnight. As far as I'm concerned, that's a good thing. That's going to make the whole gameplay experience a little more seamless. I'm not going to have to wait for downloads to come down, well, nearly as often. I'm sure it will happen from time to time. I'll put in a game, go, oh, I didn't download this one while I was off. You better do it now, that kind of stuff. But by and large, the whole experience is going to go a lot smoother, a lot more naturally, a lot less interruptions in your gameplay. So that constantly online thing is a good thing as far as I'm concerned from that point of view. Consistent connection is not required, by the way. It's just something that's useful to have, and they would prefer you do it, of course. But you can turn it off if you like. If you decide, well, I don't want this console eating up my very tiny bandwidth allowance for the remainder of the month while it's in standby mode on a game update I haven't played, say, for 3 months. Sure, you can turn that stuff off. It's fine. No problem. It's not required to be constantly online. It just does neat things when it is. Now, for the scummy bit. With the Xbox One, you can game completely offline. Yay, for 24 hours. That was actually true. You can only play for 24 hours offline. It does want to check in once every 24 hours for reasons best known to Microsoft, otherwise known as DRM, Digital Rights Manager, to make sure you haven't nicked any games or hacked your console and that kind of stuff. And it's a reasonable measure to do when you are allowing people to play the games without the discs. So you've got it installed on the hard drive. They have to sort of check in to make sure that no one else has been playing that disc elsewhere and just taking the console offline so Microsoft can't check. That's why that system is in place, to sort of control that. Because if you are going to have mandatory installs and diskless play, you have to do something to control piracy, basically. If it wasn't there, piracy would be wildly easy, and no publisher would ever publish a game on the system. So it's in everyone's best interest, kind of. It's still a massive pain in the ass for some people. You can only play offline for 1 hour if you're playing one of your games on someone else's system. So if you have logged into your account on someone else's system, you're playing a game, if you're offline for more than an hour, it nukes your ability to play games completely. So after 24 hours or 1 hour, you can't play games anymore. All the other functions work. You know, I guess you can still Skype and flip to the TV and stuff and use Internet Explorer. But yeah, you can't play games if you're offline for more than 24 hours. But that is, you know, if you're ever actually likely to be offline for more than 24 hours. And I don't know about you, but I can't remember the last time I was offline for more than 24 hours, except when I was flying internationally. And even that was, I guess, 18 hours or something at maximum before I was able to get online again. So I don't foresee that being a huge issue in the real world for very many real world people in practical circumstances. In this day and age, I honestly don't know anyone who is offline for more than 24 hours, especially for the sort of generally tech-savvy gamer types. Is there a gamer, one of you out there, who have not logged into some internet thing at least once a day? Very, very few of you, I would expect. Oh, but what happens if you go on holiday and you want to take your Xbox? Well, why are you playing games on holiday anyway, you doofus? A holiday is to get away from that shit. Go do something on holiday. The only sort of real world things that I can think this stupid shit would make an impact would be if your internet is completely out. That would suck. If your internet goes down, you know, internet service provider, your phone line gets cut or something when someone's digging out in the backyard, or that would suck. But that's hardly going to be an ongoing issue, you know. That's for a few days, and you would be offline anyway, so it's kind of annoying. But it would get fixed. It's not going to happen like every month, is it? Or maybe when you're moving, it can take a little while to get a new internet connection in a new place. That would suck, not being able to play games before your internet connection is on at your new place. But yeah, that's, again, it's an edge case thing. It's not something that's going to affect everybody all the time on any kind of regular basis. So we can give them a begrudging pass on that 24-hour online requirement. And you do, of course, have free will. You can, as a consumer, simply vote with your wallet and not buy it if this is going to be a big issue for you. There are other alternatives out there for gaming systems that do not have to connect online every 24 hours just so you can actually play your games. If that is a seriously big issue for you, if it is going to practically affect your life, or if you're taking a moral stance, just don't buy it. If enough people decide to take that same moral stance and don't buy it, then like Capcom when they tried the Resident Evil thing I was talking about before, they will get the message and either address that, change their attitude in a firmware update, I don't know what, or just don't do it again in the next system. But whatever, you know, you're free to vote with your wallet. No one is forcing you to pay money down on this thing that you don't want. And finally, the whole Big Brother, always listening, always watching, Kinect, privacy debacle thing that a lot of people have blown out of proportions, and yes, it creeps me the fuck out too. I don't want it constantly watching and listening, and I said this in other videos. What happened is exactly what I predicted would happen. Don't freak out about it, wait and see the whole story. And yes, it turns out you can turn it off if you don't want it watching and listening constantly. Turns out in the real world it's not a big deal, and everyone who freaked out about it was doing so for no particularly good reason. You can turn it off if you don't want to. Actually, you want to play a Kinect game, you do want Kinect, and you want to play a Kinect game, well, the kids want it, you can turn it on again, and then when they're done, you turn it off again. So it isn't constantly watching or listening and creeping you the frig out, and Big Brother style, and the government's going to hack in and listen, and in people's homes, and watching you masturbate on your couch, and all that sort of stuff. And being able to turn it off also means that if you're like me and hate using voice commands for this kind of stuff in your living room, Xbox, change the channel, I don't want to do that, I want to hit a friggin' button and do it. Well, you can do that because you can turn it off. Of course, they have to have an alternate control scheme in mind, so you can use the controller or a smart device through the smart glass link-up thing, or a regular remote control accessory thing to do all that stuff without having to flail your arms around like some sort of furious goose, or yell at your Xbox to do what you want it to do. You can just go boop, 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 and job done. And some games do record images and videos and sound and stuff, and all that image, video and audio that is recorded as part of a game experience or whatever is not uploaded anywhere unless you explicitly say so. Apparently, if you can trust them. You know, if you're particularly paranoid, you might want to not trust their word on that, but it is what they say is happening. And then in the normal mode, your conversations are not being recorded or uploaded. Apparently, the only thing the Xbox listens for in offline mode is Xbox on. That's all it cares about. That little algorithm that senses those words is apparently all it's listening for. Even still, I won't have it turned on. I just want the button. I don't, you know, it still creeps me out just knowing it's listening for those words. And again, if this is an issue for you, you can, of course, throw yourself against the wall and spaz out like a tantruming 5-year-old, or you can simply do the grown-up thing and say, no, that's too creepy for me, I'm just not going to buy it. Simple as that. Now, there's still a lot more to come at E3, of course, where they will be talking about games, and Microsoft have already gone on record as they will not be talking about the TV stuff at E3, so they will be talking about presumably more of the hardware and the cloud stuff, and more importantly, the gaming, of course, because that's what people are freaking out about. Oh, they talked about a game console, but didn't talk about games, and I addressed that in a video previous to this, that why that attitude was completely ridiculous and why Microsoft had no way to possibly win, no matter which way they went about that reveal event. So I won't go into that again. But there are several things about the Xbox One that do have me personally concerned. There are no deal breakers just yet, but the gaming experience, and I'm talking the game experience as a whole, not just what games are going to be there, what they look like and stuff like that. I'm talking about the way the Xbox One will wrap itself around the general gaming experience. That is the stuff I'm waiting for at E3. That will help me solidify my opinion on whether or not I will be slapping down my hard-earned cash on day one for the Xbox One. That is assuming, of course, that I don't manage to convince Microsoft Australia to put one in my hands, hopefully even before launch, so I can do a full-on in-depth review series, just like I did for the Nintendo, which a lot of people really love the review series I did about that, so I'm hoping to be able to do it again for the Xbox One, and of course the PlayStation 4, which I am, well, honestly a little more excited about the PlayStation 4 at this stage than I am about the Xbox One, but E3 will sort of further inform those opinions. But the chances of Microsoft actually giving me a console to review are slim, because Microsoft don't actually talk to me much, or at all lately, really. I don't know why. Certainly not as much as Nintendo talk to me, or even Sony for that matter. Sony, I've got a pretty good relationship with those guys, and we go back and forth, and you know, and I get to play with the new stuff, and that's all fantastic. But yeah, with Microsoft, yeah, I think I might have to work on building a relationship with whoever's handling their PR on this side of things these days, because it's going to be important if I'm going to cover the Xbox One on an ongoing basis as it reaches launch, just as I did for the Wii U. So anyway, that's my third, and probably not final, because we've still got E3 to go, blithering, rambling rant about the Xbox One and the freakishly baboon-like hardcore gamers that just enjoy spazzing out online and bouncing off the walls more than they do thinking. Really? Thanks for watching. I am Blunty. I will catch you next time.